It's time for a brand new, all new series. Fairly Odd Parents, all things Fairly Odd Parents vibes in the chat, in the comments. Do you guys think she has a chance? And it's so much that I want to say about this. And I'm a new viewer to this show. I've been watching and sucked in into this new series. I think this is one of the best reboots. Of course, I'll just say it. I haven't even watched Fairly Odder. I heard so many crazy things about that. But this, I heard nothing but great things about this reboot, and that's why I watched it. And I've been watching all the episodes. I didn't watch the finale yet, the season finale yet. I hope we get a season 2 for Fairly Odd Parents. A New Wish. We're going to be talking about Hazel Wells and getting to know Hazel and all the different changes about the show, and just talking about the backstory and so much more. No one has made a moveset for her. Some people out there are probably curious, and this is one of the newest recent requests that I've gotten. What do I think Hazel would play like if she got into the game over Timmy Turner? Now, I'll just say it. I want Timmy Turner to get in before her, but I feel like, to be real, Hazel Wells has the greatest chance over Timmy Turner because there's less hurdles, and Nickelodeon actually has the rights to this show, and they don't have to jump over all these hoops and go through all this stuff with licensing and things like that to get this character into the game. So I think Hazel Wells is an ideal pick for Fair Play Labs to pick, for the game developers to go after for a potential second wave. Maybe she can probably bring some extra light and some spark for this game. I know a lot of people will probably be upset if she gets into the game. I mean, I would probably feel some type of way as well, but I would at least want Fairly Odd Parents, just thinking of it as a different way from all these different shows that y'all see from the characters, from the menu. We need new shows. We need new reps. And all I would want is for Fairly Odd Parents to get some character representation. And I think Hazel Wells is so much different. And she's a better godchild. It seems like she's doing a lot more than what Timmy has done. Because, in comparison to making the wishes and things like that, it can go hand in hand. The opinions can go out there. Some people just don't like Hazel Wells, and some people haven't even bothered watching the show, which I don't think is fair. So I would say definitely check out the show, give it a chance, get to know the character, and you'll probably be able to enjoy the show for what it is. It's a great reboot. I'm enjoying it. I definitely want to get to the season finale and check out more of the episodes, and I definitely had a blast watching the episodes that I watched, and I found out a lot more about this character, and I was a little bit curious to see and interested to see what this reboot is going to be about and what it had to offer for Fairly Odd Parents, A New Wish. And with these ideas, y'all can check it out in the description if y'all want to read through it. If you don't want to watch the full video, if you don't want to listen into the full premiere, you could just read through the notes and everything I came up with for this character. Is not just going to be Hazel Wells getting into this game. Possibly it's just a request, and this is a moveset request of how I think she can play, just some ideas. I don't see her getting into this game solo. She's going to need some help from Cosmo and Wanda, and I gave them their own special abilities and their own particular spells and their wishes that Hazel will be able to grant from Cosmo and Wanda with their own separate playstyle, and what their styles are. Basically what I want to say, Cosmo and Wanda are going to have their own separate wishes that Hazel will be able to grant. To grant Hazel's wishes on the battlefield, Cosmo and Wanda will be able to have their own special wishes to grant her through the fights throughout the battlefield. But we'll get into that later on in the video for this request. I had a lot of fun putting this together. It was a little bit challenging because I did recently do a moveset a long while ago with Timmy Turner of how I think he could play, and I wanted to make this a lot better when I started getting into this series and more requests started coming in. So I definitely wanted to keep this going, and I'm happy with these different shows and new characters I can get to know, like Hazel, and these new shows that I can get into. So I think this is definitely a great show, a great reboot. She's a great character, and she seems to be, I think she has way more personality and energy than Timmy Turner. Just throwing it out there. and she's getting better and better and better. You get to watch the show. She learns, she gets better, she makes new connections, and she's a complete vibe, I want to say. And I definitely just recommend it. If you have not watched this show yet and haven't seen the episodes, definitely check it out. I definitely recommend it. So I want to get to the season finale. Hopefully get that season 2, and we'll be able to see more surprises and maybe some other potential returning characters and surprises that we don't even know about yet. But let's start with the backstory as usual and start talking about Hazel if you haven't seen her. So we're just gonna pull it up on the roster. I don't want to play any battles, just as usual. Just had a game in the background. We could definitely get a new series and a new rep. The big question is who's gonna get in. Between them, it's gonna be Timmy or Hazel, but Hazel just is an ideal pick and has the better chance of getting in, I think. Especially with how good the show is doing. So, with less hoops and making it easier for the devs to get access, and Nickelodeon being able to get a character in that they actually have full control over. So the backstory: Hazel is the same age as Timmy, 10 years old, but this time around, she just moved into a brand new city called, it's no longer, when you go and watch this, if you decide to watch it, of course, Dimmadelphia is no more. This is a completely different city. It's a different setting. It's a brand new city. She's the new kid. She's the new kid on the block. She's the new kid in school, in her class. This new city in Fairly OddParents' New Wish is called Dimmadelphia, almost like thinking of Philadelphia, but it's called Dimmadelphia. And she moved to this brand new city because her dad's new job, his new gig. And she also, this is something else, she's so much different than Timmy Turner. Timmy Turner didn't even have any siblings. So the difference is, from this that I took away from just watching and getting to know her, she has an older brother in the show who leaves for college. And he's not really around like that, but since he went off to college, she decided to explore the city on her own. She felt lonely. This isn't the same as Dimsdale. It's not the same Dimsdale as we once knew just from just watching the show. This is completely different from Timmy's life. She has a different life compared to Timmy, and a completely different relationship with her family. Because it's like mixed when it comes to Timmy and things like that. She's completely a different character. So let's talk about, just real quick, some people might be wondering, so how does she even get her Fairly Godparents with Cosmo and Wanda? How does she get the Fairy Godparents? She had difficulties adjusting to the new changes in her life in this brand new city, being a new kid on the block. Everybody knows about this, being a new class, the new student, and being the new guy or a new person that you're just getting into, and trying to make new friends, new connections, and trying to find people that can match your tastes, to fit your hobbies, to fit what you're into, your interests. That's what was getting to her, and she was so shy, and she was so worried of people not liking her. That was a big fear, moving into the big city, and with her brother not around, that's who she spends the most time with, and she always plays games with him and things like that, board games, and hanging out with him. But now she can't really do that as much. So that was something that was really getting to her, and it hit her hard. So adjusting to this new city, adjusting to this new life and this new world and these new changes, she felt lonely, and she decided to get out and try to explore the city on her own. And the crazy part is, she started to run away. She started to try to run away from home. And what's even crazier, her neighbors actually just so happened, this is just the wildest thing, her neighbors just so happened to be Cosmo and Wanda in disguise, in a completely different form, as humans. Her neighbors were Cosmo and Wanda in disguise. And they noticed her trying to get out and leave and things like that and run away from home and things like that before her parents could ever even try to realize Cosmo and Wanda saved Hazel and came to her rescue to try to bring her back home, to make sure she wouldn't get lost and get into any sort of dangers out there being out in the city all by her lonesome self. So they decided to come out of retirement. Cosmo and Wanda decided to come out of retirement to be fairy godparents to Hazel. And they didn't even get permission. They wanted to take her in and be able to look out for her. And they could see her vibe, to feel that good energy and getting to know her. They wanted to be her fairy godparents. And when you watch the first episode, you'll be able to find out all this stuff and how this all came about and how she ended up meeting Cosmo and Wanda, and she ended up finding out Hazel found out what they were capable of. She found out that Cosmo and Wanda were not humans, how long they've been around for thousands of years, and that they know magic. And Cosmo and Wanda showed her what they can do and how they cast magic and things like that, and that they weren't human, that they were fairies. So they decided to look after her. And then as you watch the show a little bit more, you'll be able to find out that she ends up learning how to grant wishes. So I don't want to just keep on spoiling. I don't want to spoil too much. I want to give people a chance to watch this amazing reboot. I definitely am enjoying it, and I'm definitely going to watch more episodes tonight. So one thing I want to mention, the intensity of her feelings and running away from home brought Cosmo and Wanda to Hazel. So what they say, right spot, the right place at the right time. It was the perfect timing for Cosmo and Wanda to be there for her. So it's just very well written for how she meets Cosmo and Wanda, and how she finds out about the magic and what they're capable of and how they are. So it's definitely well written. The episodes are entertaining. The characters are great. But that's just her backstory in a nutshell. For some people that might be wondering, how does she end up getting fairy godparents, and just her life in the new city and things like that. So she's learning and learning and learning, and she got so much better. And I'll even go as far as saying she has made some great wishes so far, and millions of wishes already, way before Timmy even got to that point. So it's just really wild to see that she already caught up to Timmy as far as wishes, and this is only season 1. So what's gonna happen next? Are we gonna get that season 2? Is who else is gonna be in this? And it's all types of different surprises and returning lovable characters that people will really enjoy, and you'll be able to spot some things in certain episodes, like posters and banners and things like that. And I'll just even say this: I even saw one of my favorite characters that was trying to chase after Vicky. I'll just say that as a little hint. I saw one of his posters posted up inside the school in one of the episodes, and it was awesome to see those kind of appearances and certain characters make a return. They look great even in this reboot, and you see some of the original characters or your fan favorites, and fan favorites characters are in this show, and they're a lot different now. So I definitely want you guys to definitely give it a chance if you haven't seen it, even if you like Timmy the most. Yeah, Timmy's always going to be one of my favorite Nicktoons characters, and I want him in this game or some kind of crossover at some point, but Hazel has the better chance. So let's move on to the stages, and we're going to talk about a little bit more about the characters, later on as we close it out. I'm not even sure how long this is going to be. This is probably a long one. But let's get into the stages. I went with the main setting, Dimmadelphia, just like Philadelphia. It's the main setting in a new city she moves to. So I think this will be a great stage for the developers to create. And let's just back it up, just like I like to do. Let's do this right now. Looking at the stages, You can have some of the characters. I just don't want to spoil the characters, just in case people haven't seen it. But they can have some of those certain characters and someone that's related to Dimmadome, you know, someone that's related to them, for example. They could be background characters and just to get spotted in Dimmadelphia. They could be ideal background characters, just like they have on. Remember, they used to have Mondo Gecko skating around in the original Super Slam for the background characters, and just like they have Odie, as you can see in that star. They can have all types of different characters, and we'll be able to explore the city. And maybe they can just, I don't know, they can do it like Traffic Jam as an idea. If Traffic Jam doesn't ever come back, we'll be able to traverse through the city of Dimmadelphia, and we can spot some of those characters in the background that's in the New Wish show, and they can have them appear in the background as a little bit of an idea. And then the next stage, just like I did with Timmy Turner, another ideal stage, Fairy World. It's the home world of full of fairies that exist in the clouds. Can have Georgia Von Strangle and some of those other fairies. Maybe some of the anti-fairies can probably appear and things like that. Just for some ideas for the developers to appear in the background. And you see how good Food Dream looks? I wanted to use this as an example. See how good Food Dreams looks for a stage? Just imagine Fairy World. That's going to look really good and very well done. It sucks that the Hugh Neutron stage is not in the game, because I was up in the clouds in that dreamland sort of vibe. So Fairy World and Dimmadelphia are the two main stages I selected for her DLC if she ever gets into the game. Now it's time for the costumes. We'll just click on anything. So some of the characters that got their costumes. So let's use Gerald for this time around. So we got a couple costumes. They got their nice costumes in the game. I wanted to give her some of the best ones. And if you guys have any other additional suggestions for costumes that I did not mention, because I haven't seen all the episodes yet, you can drop them in the live premiere chat and also in the comments after the premiere if you want. But just to run through these, I selected Hazel's Pajamas. Just as something, I was having trouble at first because I didn't know what to add, because she was wearing the same clothes for a while. Throughout the episode, she was wearing the same thing. So I just was like, man, I wonder if she's going to end up wearing anything different. So as I watched, I ended up finding some more costumes and different outfits that she wore that the developers could probably pick and go for some new ideal costumes for this game if she ever gets in. So Hazel's Pajamas I got from the Fearless episode when she was getting to meet one of her new friends and her new classmates from the Fearless episode. So in the beginning, she wore a green nightcap, green and white shirt with a heart on it, and then light green pants. So it's just an idea. I'm not sure if they're probably gonna end up adding that, but I just wanted to start with something basic and simple. But I wanted to find some better costumes for her and spice it up a little bit more. So now that I watched more episodes, I was able to find more that I think players out there would like. I selected her Space Hero costume, where Hazel wears a spacesuit with a star in the middle from the Cookies Court episode when she was in that fantasy land being a hero. I think that'll be a nice costume for her. The next one, I selected the Galax Institute outfit, where she finally decided just really to change and wear a different outfit, because I couldn't really find anything as I was watching, because she would wear the same outfit as I mentioned. So the Galax Institute outfit, I don't want to tell y'all who y'all see in this episode. From Croc to the Future episode, definitely recommend it. You guys will be able to find out some other surprise characters that you will be able to see from this. And I don't want to say someone who's in a certain character that's in charge of Galax or the G Institute. I want to let you guys watch it for yourself and check it out. So that's the Croc to the Future episode, and I don't want to say any other things that spoiled it, but she wore a pink hat, white long sleeve t-shirt, a pink bow tie with shiny pink pants, and some shoes. So that was from the Croc to the Future episode. So you checked out her Galax Institute outfit when she took when her and her family took that trip onto the Galax Institute. So I don't want to spoil too much about that. Now, this might come off as a spoiler, but check out the Fairy for a Day episode. You'll be able to see the Anti-Hazel, aka Liza. This is a pretty cool costume that I think they can add in. And in this episode, she wanted to go to FairyCon, so she decided to try to become a fairy for the day. So check out Fairy for the Day episode. You'll be able to find out more about her anti-form and Anti-Hazel. This will be a cool, a nice little skin, and I think it can almost look almost similar to this, but of course, it's gonna be blue and black. So she have blue skin, dark makeup, eyebrows, and black hair, things like that. Just like the anti fairies with anti Cosmo and and Wanda. So they can be able to get into the game, and they can add that as an ideal additional costume. One more bonus costume I wanted to add in, just a little bit. She almost made me think of a rock star with this. So I don't know what to call this. I don't know what you guys would call it. I got this from the Growing Pains episode, and I just put rocker or rock star Hazel. And in this episode, she wished to be older just so she can get into a movie, go through puberty and things like that. She had dark makeup, red, green, and brown spiky hair, earrings, and a nose ring, a black skull tank top, purple pants, and black and white boots. She looked like a rock star. So definitely check out the Growing Pains episode. That's how I got it from. She doesn't have to be taller, but they can definitely just keep her current size and just be able to add that costume. See what they did with Ember, for example. An actual rock star or someone that's using a guitar in this. She doesn't have to be any taller like she was from the Growing Pains episode to get that form or to get that costume. She can keep her regular size and height, and they can definitely be able to change up her hair and give her that particular outfit. So those are all the alternate costumes that I could find. And if you guys have more, definitely list them in the comments if you guys found out more, or maybe something that could probably be better than the pajamas that I selected from the first one, for the first of the costumes. Well, the first costume at least. Let's get into the taunts and animations. I didn't really know all of her best quotes. So what I did was focus in on the taunts and animations. If someone knows some ideal iconic quotes, y'all can drop them below if y'all want to. Just things that she could say. But I came up with some pretty cool taunts and animations from watching the show for the first time and getting more into the series and episodes. So the first taunt, I called it Scary Mary, because she's a huge horror fan, and I like this about her. She actually has interests that's outside, just it makes her so much different from Timmy. I love scary movies. But anyway, Scary Mary, the first taunt, I thought this would be something funny that she could do. Hazel could try to scare off her enemies to pay tribute to her favorite horror series. It's called Gregory. And you guys will be able to find this within the first few episodes. And I got this from the Fearless episode. So I thought she can do a nice little Gregory horror movie reference. It's her favorite scary movie, and she's a huge horror movie fan. So I thought that'll be a nice little touch for the developers to use something from one of her top interests of scary movies and horror movies. She could do that Scary Mary sort of taunt as an idea. Something that can really fit her liking or fit her taste. And then the next one, I couldn't come up with anything else. The next one was I came up with Rattleconda from the Rattleconda Racers. The Rattleconda Racers episode. I thought she could do like a snake and handshake animation with Cosmo and Wanda, where she'll say Rattleconda. it'll be a nice little a taunt that they can add, and it can also include Cosmo and Wanda. So two different unique taunts, and from the episode references and things like that, that I thought would be pretty cool for her to have. Now let's get into the winning and losing animations. And I really like these the most, a little bit more than what I came up with for the taunts. Maybe there could be better taunts that she has. But it's only been one season. This show is still freshly new. So it's all types of different things she might end up doing in the next season. Potentially, if we get one. So the winning animation for Hazel, I was trying to see who dances. Patrick sort of does in a little bit in the winning, for the winner circle. I came up with the winning animation from called the BFFs dance, and I got this from the 28 Puddings Later episode where I had a typo in my notes, but the BFFs dance is what I came up with. I put the same thing twice on accident. The BFF dance, or the BFFs dance, is something I came up with for winning animation. I thought this would be great with Cosmo and Wanda, since she does this with her friends Jasmine and Wynn Harper in the show that you'll be able to find out more about if you haven't seen the show. So this is from the 28 Puddings Later episode. So it was pudding day at the school fair, and the pudding was like a zombie apocalypse, but it had something to do with pudding instead. So I thought this would be something that she could do in a winning animation. It looks pretty cool. You guys gotta check it out. From the 28 Puddings Later episode, the BFFs dance is something that seems to be ideal for a winning animation for Hazel that she could do with Cosmo and Wanda when she gets the victory. Now, I almost feel like I'm doing this. I couldn't come up with really much of anything for Hazel to do for a losing animation, but I came up with something that makes the most sense considering the OG Fairly OddParents series, and it's also something that happens in this new series for the New Wish for a crying animation for Hazel that I did. It's not going to be like Jenny's when she's down on the ground like that, but I thought for a losing animation, Hazel can cry her eyes out on the ground, and then for Cosmo and Wanda, she could be looking down at the ground sad at the pile of dust at Wanda, of Cosmo and Wanda, because Cosmo and Wanda in a losing animation, they'll turn into fairy dust, and this actually happens to any fairy that goes a while without granting wishes. It's called the magical buildup. So I thought I can give Cosmo and Wanda the magical buildup, which also exists from the OG series when they would explode into fairy dust. And I think this is the best animation option for a losing animation for them to implement. So during the magical buildup for any sort of fairy and fairy OddParents, when they go off without granting wishes, they'll explode into fairy dust, and they'll die off and eventually disappear. So they inflate into a balloon and they burst, exploding into fairy dust. This is something that can definitely happen during the losing animation, and Hazel could be looking down at Cosmo and Wanda as fairy dust, sad that her fairies are gone. That her fairies has been turned into fairy dust from the magical buildup. This is perfect for a losing animation. I couldn't think of anything that's ideal, and I think most people probably would agree it will definitely fit Cosmo and Wanda, and it can also fit Hazel in the mix. Of course, she wouldn't be dust, but she could be sad that Cosmo and Wanda they suffer from magical buildup from the losing animation. Now, this is probably going to take me the longest, because now we're going to get into the full moveset. I gave moves to Hazel, Cosmo, and Wanda for their own spells and more. I wanted to try to make this work as far as just mixing it up a little bit and giving Cosmo and Wanda their own playstyles and focus on certain spells and certain wishes that, or certain wishes I should say, that Hazel will be able to grant depending on which fairy is going to be active. Now, I just want to put the Angry Beavers on the screen because you can, these are the only two characters that's in this current base roster that you can change between. You can switch between Daggett and Norbert on the field, and Daggett and Norbert each have their own abilities, but they can call upon each other, which is awesome. But you only can play as one beaver at a time, and you can switch between them, and depending on who's active, they do different moves and they specialize in them. So I thought this would be something cool that they could use for Cosmo and Wanda. So I want to say this now. I don't know if she's going to get in this game. Maybe she'll get into a different game. It's really hard to tell, but I feel like Hazel just again has the best chance of getting into this game. And that's why I wanted to really make this interesting and as best as possible and realistic for some good moves for her and for them, for her fairies. So the goal, I wanted to give Cosmo and Wanda a certain play style, designing these ideas and trying to come up with stuff to be creative as possible. Cosmo and Wanda is going to have their own exclusive wishes. Hazel can fairy change, which is going to be something that they can basically implement when they start, if they start creating this character and adding her into the game. Hazel will be able to switch between the fairies, a fairy change, which I like to call it. And when you change between the fairies, and just like you switch between Daggett and Norbert, you're going to have their own little abilities. So Hazel's going to be able to switch between Cosmo and Wanda and fairy change and change up her fairies on the fields, depending on who's active. Cosmo and Wanda will be able to grant wishes for Hazel. Whichever fairy is going to be active, whichever fairy is active on the field will be able to follow Hazel around to watch over her. They cannot be attacked. So I thought this would be something that could be implemented. Maybe the developers will change it. Would y'all want Cosmo and Wanda to be able to be removed and temporarily disabled? Maybe that can come into the balancing sort of thing, the balancing sort of aspect. Or maybe they can test it out, see what it does if they come out and get added to the game, make them invincible at first, and then maybe they'll come out in another future patch, and then make them vulnerable to attacks, so Hazel can't really get wishes. But I personally think Cosmo and Wanda should be invincible, so they cannot be attacked and suffer damage. So whichever fairy is active on the field between Cosmo and Wanda is going to follow Hazel around to try to watch over her and protect her. So I want to start with Hazel with her own moves. I only gave her a couple moves and abilities because I didn't want to have her just too reliant on Cosmo and Wanda, which I think is basically going to be the main thing. Cosmo and Wanda are going to be the ones really pulling the punches and dealing and benefiting Hazel or Timmy Turner if they get into the game by some chance. But for Hazel Wells' moves, for her individual moves, and then we're gonna move on to Cosmo and Wanda. And I also came up with almost forgot to mention these. I also came up with dual fairy techniques between Cosmo and Wanda that they'll be able to do together, and they will be able to use their wands together with certain abilities and stuff like that to help Hazel out. So let's start getting into Hazel's move pool. So with Hazel's moveset, I came up with just a little silly name, Let's Roll. So this first move, Hazel will be able to roll forward full screen, knocking away all of her enemies. And I didn't want to just make it too plain. This move can be manually controlled left and right for a limited amount of time. And while using this move, while she's rolling, Hazel also is gonna have access to super armor during this time, so you won't be able to stop her. So super armor, I wanted to make it a little bit, even though it's a little plain move, it might sound plain, but I think that super armor, I wanted to make it a little bit more dangerous. So I got this from a new development episode. This is definitely I think this is one of my personal favorite episodes I've seen from the show so far. It's called a new development because one of the characters, Dev, A new development episode is one of my personal favorite episodes throughout the series in season 1 so far, even though I haven't seen them all. I definitely really love this episode. So what this episode is about is when they were paired up together to go hunt down the clues for class to try to win tickets for Wave and Rage. But you'll be able to find out more from that episode, so I don't want to spoil too much about that. But that's the first move for Hazel, with her ability to roll through all the enemies and have that super armor. I think that's really going to be dangerous. This next move, I called it Hazel the Hero. Hazel unlocks her heroic potential, brandishing her fantasy sword. I gave her a sword for her move pool, her fantasy sword to attack with. She also gets an increase in her movement speed for a limited amount of time. And then what she says from this episode, an iconic quote, when she pulls out her sword, brandishes her blade. See how cool that'll be? A sword from her fantasy that she can bring to the battlefield. I like how she said, did someone order a hero? I got this from the Cookies Court episode, another favorite episode that I liked and enjoyed. This is from the Cookies Court episode. So that's Hazel the Hero from one of her abilities and one of her moves. Now, the next move, I gave her a counter. And I was trying to think, who else can counter in this game? It's only Patrick, I believe. Plays can't counter. LT Ray doesn't. It's only Patrick that can counter in this game. So I think this would be really cool. Switch on one of these costumes. But I wanted to give Hazel a counter move because not many characters have one. And I was thinking about Patrick because he has his own little counter in this game. So this move, the tornado throw, Hazel can perform a special stance to counter any physical attack, grabbing, spinning, and throwing the opponent. So this will be something that'll be a completely upgraded, different variation, somewhat similar to Patrick's, but she'll just spin you around and be able to throw you out. So you gotta try to hit her physically. She can't counter. She won't be able to use the tornado throw if you hit her with a projectile attack. Now, I wanted to make her a little bit more special to start beefing up Hazel's abilities. So I called this special ability for Hazel, wish streak. This special ability can also include a meter mechanic. Maybe it'll be a little bit too complicated, or maybe it's too much. But I wanted to make her that special to make her even more crazier of an opponent. So the wish streak, as Hazel wishes throughout the battle, her wish streak meter will begin to increase. When the meter is full, she can make a special wish that can make her temporarily invincible for a short period of time. And I wanted to match up. I wish you could pull up the items, which you can't because they don't have the they didn't even add that in, surprisingly, because the first one had that. See, it says set which items will spawn and how often, but you cannot set them. There's no option for it. It was anybody, if you guys played this still, the super slime was some kind of temporarily invisible sort of power up or item. Once you break the jar of slime, your character or your fighter will become super slime for a little bit, for a limited amount of time. They can make the wish streak bonus benefits last that long to match up, so it balances, so it doesn't last too long. So the super slime lasts about, I think, a little bit over 10 seconds. I'm trying to think. Maybe it lasts like 10 seconds. I think it really does. I was just trying to think about it. See, I would try it right now, but you can't get the item to spawn right off the bat. Otherwise, I would try it out in the training for y'all. But the super slime item is going to work similar to that when her wish streak meter is completely full, and she'll be invincible for an amount of time to match up to the same amount of time for the super slime item. And the one thing to fit the balancing mechanic for this special ability she has, so it won't be too crazy, it's gonna once you use it, the next time you try to build up the meter for your wish streak, it'll take longer to build as the fight goes on. So as she makes wishes throughout the battle, it's going to build up. But if you already activated the first time, it's going to take longer for you to get it active the next time, and that way it fits the balance, so the player can't just have the wish streak too much and too often throughout the fight and throughout the battle. So it saves it helps the balance of the game and things like that they can add. Just a little special ability for her. So now we're gonna move on to Wanda's. You know what I'm gonna do? Yeah, I'm gonna start with Wanda, and then I'm gonna do Wanda's techniques or her wishes that she'll be able to grant Hazel. Then I'm gonna move to the duo fairy techniques, and then we'll finish with Cosmo, and then we'll also mention the super or ultimate that I think everybody will like for Hazel. So let's get into Wanda's. So for Wanda, she's gonna focus on defensive buffs, defensive wishes, and Cosmo is gonna be the attacker or offense, focused on offense sort of wishes and spells that they will be able to use on the battlefield and to be able to help out Hazel. So let's start with Wanda's. The first one I call the safeguard. So these are all defensive buffs and things that will be able to take care of Hazel to really help her out in the fight. So you definitely don't want to let any of these fairies really start getting momentum, and it's going to start benefiting her. And as she's getting these wishes, she's going to be able to get that wish meter up to increase whoever's active, and she can also switch them out to be able to get even more benefits. So you definitely don't want to let her start getting her wishes out, and it's just going to get even more messier. So with Safeguard, Wanda can occasionally protect Hazel from incoming attacks with a barrier that reflects all projectiles and prevents being damaged by physical attacks. It's going to have a cooldown period, so they can balance that. So this would be a perfect a perfect wish for her as far as Wanda's defensive buffs and protections, little special wishes. The next one, I gave Wanda Fairy Wind. So Wanda will be able to cure some of the damage and restore some of the damage Hazel has taken in battle. This move can only be used twice in one life. So just an example of what I'm saying for this Fairy Wind, because she'll be able to heal. Hazel will be able to use it at the beginning of the battle, or you can just save it for later if you need it the most, and then you'll also be able to use it if you have higher than 100% damage. So I'm saying, I feel like I'm saying this a lot. It's a lot of balancing that I think they're going to probably end up having to do with some of these fairies, because they're capable of so much. With Cosmo and Wanda, they got a lot of firepower, and there's so many different wishes that they can add into her move pool and what they can be capable of separately. So I think it's going to be a lot of balancing that's going to be needed to be done if they get this character and decide to go with her to get in. So that's the Fairy Wind. The last technique that I gave Wanda for her own exclusive wishes that she'll be able to grant, levitation. So Wanda is going to be able to lift Hazel's enemies up into the air, capturing and holding them in place in a bind. So you'll be able to get some free hits in. So I thought that would be something that can make her, Wanda, a little bit dangerous. She's not only going to be able to protect Hazel, but she's also going to be able to stop you and slow you down, stop you in your tracks. And that way Hazel can really start getting some momentum and try to get some combos in, or maybe that one little lucky hit she needs to get to launch you off the map. Wanda will definitely be the fairy that can be out there to put a stop to that crazy opponent that's moving so fast. You could probably be able to stop them with that levitation spell or that levitation wish that she'll be able to grant. Now let's get into the dual fairy techniques. So this one I call the rules clouds, a projectile attack that Cosmo and Wanda will both be able to fire clouds simultaneously across the field and into the air. It doesn't matter who's active on the field between Cosmo and Wanda. I just wanted to juice them up a little bit more, so they have their own little special wishes that they can be able to grant. So at random, either Cosmo or Wanda will shoot the rules clouds into the air to cover both directions. So not only just covering the battlefield or covering the ground, they'll be able to fire them in the air. So Cosmo might shoot one in the air, Wanda might shoot one in the air, and then vice versa. Cosmo might go for the ground to try to, hit you with one of the rules clouds for, hit you with the rules. They were like projectile clouds with words on them. So they could do that. So either one of those fairies, Cosmo and Wanda, you definitely want to watch both of them, see where they shoot, and you want to keep an eye on those the rules, so that way you don't get affected by them. So that'll be something cool as a little duo projectile attack for Cosmo and Wanda. And then this next one, I called it Hazel the Fly, because Cosmo and Wanda are gonna be able to quickly save Hazel by transforming her into a fly. So they'll both activate their wands and synchronize and sync as a nice little recovery move to save Hazel to break her fall. So those are just a couple duo fairy techniques that I wanted to slip in there. So that's Hazel's recovery, by the way. She turns into a fly like she does in the show. We first start getting into it. She turns into a fly, and she could just easily be able to get back onto the stage. She's gonna be hard to hit, for sure. She's going to be fast and very hard to hit, so she'll probably be almost guaranteed to get into the stage. But then when she makes it back, she won't be able to stay in a fly forever. So that way she'll just be back into being a human, or just to her normal self. So let's get into just start wrapping it up. Start talking about Cosmo's attack spells and his wishes that he'll be able to have and be able to grant Hazel. This one is the invisible wish to start off. Cosmo can make Hazel invisible for a limited amount of time, making her extremely difficult for her enemies to find her. And the one thing, just to make sure it's fair, so you won't be able to spam this attack, you could be able to use it to get away, to separate yourself from the crowd. It's a good crowd control sort of wish that Cosmo will be able to use to back Hazel up. But the kicker, Hazel won't be able to attack again until she appears. So just because you're invisible, I just put that up in there, so that way you're just not hiding. You just won't be able to inflict any damage. You'll just be able to get away for a limited amount of time. But once you reappear, you'll be able to take damage again. But once you're invisible, you just won't be able to attack at all. So you definitely want to be careful with that wish. To make yourself invisible and make sure you know where you are. Might even run off the stage. The next wish that I gave for Cosmo's moves, or his techniques, his special wishes for Hazel, wand blast. So Cosmo will be able to fire a beam from his wand that could pierce through multiple enemies at once. And I just came up with this out of nowhere. I just couldn't come up with anything else that I wanted to give Cosmo. So I gave Cosmo his own comet technique. I call it the Cosmo Comet. And I pulled this from the Cookies Court episode, from that comet that Hazel destroyed in her fantasy adventure. And with the Cosmo Comet, I turned it into a chargeable move where Cosmo's own special technique from Fairy World he'll be able to rain down comets down on the opponents. These comets will slowly descend onto the ground. If Cosmo charges it up all the way, if the move is fully charged, multiple comets fall from the sky at a faster rate. So that was just the final sort of wish that I gave for Cosmo set and his own unique wishes as well. So both Cosmo and Wanda are going to be a force to be reckoned with regardless of who's active. Plus they'll also be able to use that dual fairy technique, shooting those rules at you, the rules clouds, and then they'll also be able to protect Hazel throughout the fight. So they're really going to be a little annoying to go against, and I think that's what's going to make them some of the best characters if they get into the game. And being able to switch off between Cosmo and Wanda and not being able to attack them, they might have to make that change where you could be able to slow down Cosmo and Wanda to disable them, so only one fairy can grant certain wishes, and then the other character will go on a cooldown period and be able to return, just like how you can attack Daggett and Norbert in this game. Because even if you summon it, you hit them, it counts as they take damage and they share the damage. Even if you change, you switch the Beavers, they share the same amount of damage. Just because you switch to Daggett doesn't mean he's going to be at 0%. They share the same amount of health or hit points. The percentage of damage, it's not going to make a difference. So I feel like they probably might have to make Wanda and Cosmo and Wanda be able to take damage. They might have to. Now, I wanted to really try a little bit hard just to try to make a nice super ultimate attack, and I paid tribute to her love for anime. And I really like this episode too. The Prime Meridian episode, I definitely like this episode from putting this together. Her super ultimate, Kinyuith. I wanted to bring out Kinyuith, an anime character. It'll be awesome to see from the show. It's her favorite. And her love for anime. She loves anime, scary movies. She's just a vibe. It's just awesome to really see how they implement all this stuff. So Kinyuith is like a superhero in a way. Let's put him on this. So Kinyuith of the Prime Meridian, it's a character. He's a character from Hazel's favorite manga that could be brought to life to assist her. Just like how Cosmo and Wanda brought him to life out of the comic from the Prime Meridian that she loved reading from our manga, they can bring him back to life for one final blow. So if you haven't seen the Prime Meridian episode, she went to the school of dance with him in the show, and she wished him out of the comments. He's a fighter. And the iconic quote when he comes out, when he gets on, "I shall end you." And then it's like he got to know Hazel throughout the show, and throughout this episode, you can be able to see what he's all about. He's a hero. He's a fighter. So this will be a nice iconic super for Hazel to bring out her favorite manga hero. Kinyuith will be there to protect her, and it could be almost like a summon in a way. Maybe thinking about assist trophies, things like that. It could be something like that for her super. So when she gets to her full slime member, she can bring out Kinyuith. Cosmo and Wanda can bring him right out of that manga from the Prime Meridian, and he can say, "Hazel, I'm here to assist you, and I shall end all the opponents." It's something that he says in the show. "I shall end you." He says it to his nemesis, Duckworth. And he can say that to any other character that he encounters in this game. I think this would be something cool that they can add for an ideal super. I couldn't think of anything else. I didn't want to just have Cosmo and Wanda to just do this magical grand wish and things like that. I wouldn't be able to make sense of it. But with Kinyuith, her favorite hero, her favorite manga, can come to life and be able to set foot on the battlefield to really be a problem on the field and be able to attack the enemies themselves. Even if he could come out as a summon. If he comes out as a summon, he can be able to move be AI controlled to be able to attack the opponents, to protect Hazel. See what I'm saying? He can come out as a summon, or he can just be an animation where a hit or miss animation super, where if you hit him, he'll still be able to attack him, and he can get multiple people at once if possible. And he'll say, "To the cannons." He could do something like that, jump into the pirate ship, to the cannons, and just be able to blast on everybody. And then another idea, just thinking about it, remember Snake from Metal Gear Solid for Super Smash Bros? And you can manually aim. Hazel can jump onto the cannons with Kinyuith and be able to shoot at the opponents. That's another idea. I didn't put that in my notes, but it's just something to expand. For Kinyuith, he'll be able to attack and rain down on and just blast you with his cannons, things like that. And you can just make it rain on the field and just be able to cause a lot of destruction. And you can be able to aim with your courser and fire at will. That's just something else that they can do with Kinyuith from the primary. I think he would be a nice super and an awesome attack for Hazel to assist her. So this will be a lot of fun. I'm running out of time too. It's just having to pop up. But I don't want my battery to go out. But let me know what you guys think. I think this is definitely probably the longest request. But while I'm wrapping this up, I want to say this. Even if Timmy doesn't get into the game, some people gonna be upset. Yeah, I would too, because I want Timmy to be in the game. But Hazel has the best chance than he does. She has a much better chance of getting into these crossovers than Timmy ever will. Her series is a hit. The reboot is dope. Her personality, the energy, she learns, she vibes out to the characters, and she gets better and better and better. I don't even know if it's gonna be a season 2, but I feel like it is, because it's doing so well, it's being received well, and I think most people are saying it could be possibly one of the greatest reboots in recent from Nickelodeon. So I'm hoping that we get something like this. A new season 2 or maybe a wave 2, Hazel Wells could probably be up in there, even if it's not Timmy. But some people feel a certain way about him. But I just want to say this: it's just not fair to, for a new character to get introduced and people haven't seen a single episode to really give the show a try and then shoot it down right at the start. That's not fair. But I'm happy that this reboot is definitely a hit and it's getting the love that it deserves. And they're going to probably do more with it, just like they're doing with Rock, Paper, Scissors. Hazel Wells is the next big thing that they can do, and it just recently started. I haven't even seen all the episodes. This is definitely going to be something that they can do. I'm going to have the timestamps as usual. People want to listen to it. I really think she has a really good chance to get into this game. I hope she does. They got a lot of options. Let's stop coming out with the same characters. Let's stop selling with the same characters with the same series. It's just gonna hurt the product. It's not gonna grow. It's just gonna hurt the fan base. People don't want to play. They don't want to play the game because they know what's coming out. Because the same series. It's not about SpongeBob. He the face and the mascot. Understandable, but it's not a SpongeBob game. It's not about it. Just the same series getting just rolling up the slides. Let's get some other series represented. Let's get some variety for these characters. Hazel can get in and spark up an interest, whether players like her or not. It's still gonna count as a new series because people don't think Fairly OddParents has a ghost of a chance to get into the game. Hazel Wells is the door opener. And she has a good chance because they have ownership of this character instead of trying to keep on content and trying to battle and only let's just wrap this up, only a couple seasons. So it's like 5 seasons. Nickelodeon is gonna own all the different seasons of this show and this character. She's gonna have an easier time to get in, slide on through into the DLC. They can definitely get this character in these crossovers, not even just in this game, but other titles. But let me know what you guys think. I definitely have fun putting this together. This is the longest request I did. I knew it was going to take me a while, but I wanted to make it as good as possible, just to make her stand out, give Cosmo and Wanda their own individual magic and wishes, to make her a force to be reckoned with. I definitely have fun putting this together. If you have any other requests, you can drop them in the comments. This is definitely the biggest request I made, and this is the longest one for sure. But it was definitely worth it. I had fun. I hope she gets into the game. It'll definitely help the series.